After all this time, now you come to visit me, brother.
Thor, your bravery will not ease your pain.
Hela, the goddess of death, has invaded Asgard.
Oh, I've missed this.
And then I went on a journey of self-discovery, where I met you.
Marvel Cinematic Universe has come so far with back-to-back release of their new films. Till now, 22 superhero films have been released under the banner of MCU, and currently it is phase for 4 Marvel comics. Although there are different series running in MCU and each series is based on different character.
This will be such fun.
Hello.
Hi.
But today, the Film Gossip have brought you this video, which will describe every detail about the most successful series of MCU. If you still don't understand it, we are talking about the Avengers. So let's get started. Let's discuss the plot first. Before we get to other details of this franchise, let us have a trip on our memory lane. The first Avengers movie was released in 2012, and it was a critical point that determined the future of this franchise.
In the end, it'll be every man for himself.
There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people.
His story revolves around a formation of Avengers, which was crucial after Loki's attack on Earth. The main squad of MCU like Iron Man, Thor, Hulk and Captain America gathered in S.H.I.E.L.D. headquarters, and they form a group to stop Loki, who has been obtained an Infinity Stone.
What do we do?
We get ready. So when we needed them, they could fight the battles that we never could.
In the second part of this franchise, these superheroes fought together against an AI-based robot, Ultron, who was determined to annihilate the whole of mankind. In the last 2 parts of this series, Avengers finally came face to face against the main antagonist of MCU universe, Thanos, to prevent him from destroying half the life in the whole universe. The Thanos arc concluded in the last 2 parts of this franchise, and it also became clear that MCU finally revealed the end of main characters like Tony Stark, Steve Rogers and Natasha Romanoff. The beauty, or you can say a trait, that made Marvel movies popular among people is that every film is connected to another part. So in case you haven't watched any Marvel films yet, then you have to start with a specific order of these 22 films. Otherwise you will miss a lot of hints and points which are essential to understand every character and his story.
I'm gonna show you something beautiful. You want to protect the world, but you don't want it to change. You're all puppets. Strings.
Let's now discuss the origins of this film. If you go deep into the history of Avengers, you will be shocked to know that the Avengers first appeared in 1963 in Marvel Comics. The main force behind their creation was the brilliance of Jack Kirby and Stan Lee. Both these legends were motivated after their rivals DC Universe published a comic in 1960. Which was the first superhero fictional group known as Justice League. This publication by DC Universe forced both Jack and Stan to come up with their own team of superheroes. Ultimately, their rivalry created a first Avengers, and this group was consist of Iron Man, Hulk, the Wasp, Thor and the Ant-Man.
Gentlemen, what are you prepared to do?
And to your surprise, it was the Wasp who named the group the Avengers, not Nick Fury, the director of S.H.I.E.L.D. After Jack and Stan introduced the original Avengers team, which has only 5 members, people liked this idea, and new characters were introduced in later years. So you can say that the Avengers was also responsible for the expansion of MCU, and they rose the popularity of Marvel Comics in people. Let's have a look on the development of this series. For the development of an Avengers movie based on comics, then CEO of Marvel Studios, Avi Arad, announced his plans in April 2005. But to develop such a film was a major challenge for Marvel Studios. Many people don't know the fact that it was the time when Marvel Studios were facing many challenges and the company's future was not certain due to management crisis. These crises even led the authorities in Marvel to Wall Street analysts to calculate risk factors.
No offense, but I don't play well with others.
Big man in a suit of armor. Take that away, what are you?
Genius, billionaire, playboy, philanthropist.
From 2005 to 2007 was a troublesome year for the company. Kevin Feige joined Marvel as a new CEO of Marvel Studios. His exceptional talent in management took the company to new heights, and the result of his skills was the overwhelming feedback from the public over the success of Iron Man 2008.
It's the end. The end of the path I started us on.
Nothing lasts forever.
Even after the success of new projects, authorities were hesitant to make a crossroad between major superheroes of MCU. But Kevin took the risk and started his endeavor to make Avengers, and thus a new era was started for MCU. Now let's discuss the casting. After the decision was made in Marvel headquarters for making Avengers, Joss Whedon signed a contract as a director of the first two Avengers films. But after Whedon left Marvel, the Russo brothers came and the last two films were directed by them. And they did an amazing job as directors. The major cast was already selected because Iron Man, Captain America and Thor were pretty famous after their independent movies had been released. But it was Mark Ruffalo who surprised the audience as he was elected as the new Hulk for MCU.
There are no strings on me, but now I'm free.
Apart from Ruffalo, Jeremy Renner was cast for the role of Clint Bratton, as known as Hawkeye. Nick Fury was portrayed by Samuel Jackson, which was obvious because his appearance in Iron Man 2 made clear that he had done a contract with Marvel for this character. The other cast members like Robert Evans and Hemsworth were already known to the public for their roles in Marvel. That's why their casting was not a surprise for anyone. For the other parts of this franchise, each character had an independent film in which this story is told, and they linked with the main arc of the Avengers series. This trick was useful because it worked very well for the main story, from beginning to end. Now let's discuss the box office performance. In MCU, every part of the Avengers franchise is successful in terms of revenue. The first part, which was released in 2012, made more than $1.5 billion against a budget of $220 million. The second part was also successful and entered into billion-dollar club with earning of $1.4 billion. The last two parts, directed by Russo brothers, were even more successful than estimated by everyone after they crossed the line of $2 billion.
If we can't protect the Earth, you can be damn sure we'll avenge it.
This franchise is one of the most profitable and highest earning franchises because there is only 5 films in the world who ever crossed the figure of 2 billion, and 2 of them are from this series. From the list of highest grossing films of all times, 3 parts from this series are also included in the list. The last chapter of this franchise, Avengers Endgame, which was released in 2019, made headlines around the globe when it becomes the highest grossing film ever made with earning of $2.798 billion worldwide. The Avengers series has earned a total of $7.768 billion with only 4 parts in the entire series, which is its legacy and milestone achieved by MCU. Now let's discuss critical reception. Unlike any other superhero crossroads which usually ends up in bad remarks by cruel critics, this franchise is praised by critics. If we talk about its story, it's perfect in every sense, with a little bit of difference from comic books, but in general, its pace, character development, and action sequence are top-notch. Even Stan Lee was impressed after seeing the adaptation of his work into movies. Critics also praise the CGI work with fascinating graphics, which are the signature mark of any Marvel film. The last 2 parts have a perfect IMDb rating of 8.4, while the first part is given a rating of 8 on IMDb.
There was an idea to bring together a group of remarkable people.
Fun isn't something one considers when balancing the universe. But this does put a smile on my face.
If you enjoy this video, then don't leave without subscribing our channel The Film, because here you will find best infotainment.